Okay, I want to switch over to an announcement you made today. You're proposing that 50% of equalization funds be distributed on a per capita basis versus the formula that's being used right now. What do you think that will accomplish?
Well, I think what it'll accomplish is raising the conversation amongst premiers, and we've requested it be added to the agenda, at the COF agenda later this summer. But to start to have the discussion about what we feel is a flawed program here in our nation. And we need to discuss just that, and understanding there will be sensitive and challenging discussions with different regions of the nation. But that doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form should we not have those discussions about are there opportunities for us to improve this program. We've put forward a proposal that we feel is fairer for all Canadians, and we hope that it will raise this discussion in the weeks and months ahead, as this is the time to discuss just this program as we're approaching 2019, which is the federal government's 5-year point of review of the program.
You say the program is flawed. Why?
Well, we have a program where we have one province that has received over half of the outflows of our equalization program since 1957, since its inception.
But if that province needs it, and I assume you're singling out Quebec here, if that province needs it, why is that a flawed thing?
We have another province that has just over a 14% unemployment rate that isn't receiving equalization, so it is delayed.
Is that Alberta?
No, that would be Newfoundland and Labrador.
Newfoundland, but they have received transfers in other areas, and they also get they had stabilization programs that the federal government made available.
And if this program was reactive and a truly responsive program, they would be receiving equalization dollars as well. We have many other programs with our federal government where we share those dollars or distribute those dollars on a per capita basis, and I don't think it's out of the question to have the discussion with respect to equalization, sharing half of that distribution on a per capita basis.
But I guess I wonder how, I mean, equalization is essentially supposed to address the fiscal, what a province is able to achieve, like how much money it can raise, the revenue possibilities for that province. And if a province has an easier time earning that revenue or raising that revenue than another province, why mess with that formula?
And there's been all sorts of questions in years gone by with respect to where those revenues are coming from, which ones are excluded. I would just put forward that when you have a downturn in economies like we've had in Saskatchewan and in Alberta and in Newfoundland and Labrador, that this program should be more responsive, or should be buffered to some degree, so that all Canadians can see the benefit of what is a Canadian program.
But as long as that there are buffers provided by the federal government, for example in Newfoundland, for example in Alberta, when they were in their downturns, there were stabilization payments made. So why is it necessary to mess with the equalization program? Are you really just trying to target Quebec here?
No, absolutely not. Quebec would still receive over 40% of equalization under the proposal that we put
Under your
forward.
proposal, though, an economist says Quebec stands to receive about $3.5 billion less than under the current formula. That's a lot less.
Or $8 billion more than no payments at all. So, they would, Quebec would receive
but Quebec
over 40%.
would stand to lose a lot.
They would stand to gain a lot as well, with 40% of the payments going their direction. That's more than any other province in the nation, and we must acknowledge just that. As we move forward, we need to have the discussion about the responsiveness of this program. I put forward the case in Newfoundland and Labrador, but I think it's also fair to say, with what's happened in natural resource prices in Western Canada, that they have taken a downturn. It's affected our economy. It's affected our jobs. I would also say, as we look forward to the industries that we have most notably in Western Canada, but also in Newfoundland and Labrador and other areas, we're facing a very different environment, in the way of impositions of things like carbon taxation, in the way of increased regulation, in the way of really struggling to access our coastline with our exports out of some of our landlocked provinces here in the nation. So the future years, as we look ahead, we do have some headwinds that we maybe haven't had the last number of years as we try to expand our economy, and I'll speak to the Saskatchewan economy and how we've been successful in expanding those exports and our contact with exporting products all around the world.
Do you have any support as you head into these discussions from other provinces?
I've talked to a number of provinces, and there does seem to be some support to
Among which ones?
Have a discussion with respect to equalization as it sits, and is there opportunities to improve that. So we put forward a proposal to start those discussions, and
but you
we look
referred,
forward to
for
that
example, to Newfoundland to bolster your case. Does Mr. Ball support your proposal?
Yeah, I've talked with Premier Ball. I've talked with Premier-elect Ford. I've talked with the offices of the outgoing chair, Premier Notley's office in Alberta, as well as the incoming chair, Premier Gallant's office, as well as Premier Horgan in British Columbia. So we'll continue to reach out and hopefully have this added to the agenda and have the discussion start at our Council of Federation meeting, which is where I think this discussion should start, given the calendar time of the decision being made by our federal government in 2019, and have the premiers have what I know is a sensitive discussion, but in no way does that preclude us backing away from having them.
All right, thanks a lot, Premier Moe.
Thanks so much, Bashi. Always a pleasure.